Last September, Kilkenny farmer Morgan Ging was busy harvesting his high-grade malting barley. Just a few years earlier, he and his wife Anne had been at a crossroads. They were struggling to make a living for themselves and their 4 children on their 140-acre beef and tillage farm in Ballykeefe.
We'd worked so hard to have our own farm and we were so proud of something we bought. It wasn't handed to us. Something myself and Anne bought and scrimped and saved, worked 2 jobs each to have the farm. We didn't want to lose it.
Morgan looked at various options, including converting to dairy, but in the end decided to make the most of what the farm was already producing. It led him to building the country's first and only on-farm distillery.
I wanted to add value to it, but I also wanted to do something that would be in sync with what we were doing. We didn't want to change our farming practice. We still wanted to grow malting barley and we wanted to feed beef cattle. So for me, building a distillery on the farm was the answer.
Morgan borrowed the money he needed from his bank and in 2016 began work on converting old farm buildings into a modern distillery.
Oh, wow.
He also employed a master distiller to teach him the art of making spirits. Of course, it all begins with his own barley.
How does this end up as a glass of whiskey?
First we mill it, we brew it, ferment it, triple distill it, and then blend it back with our own water here on the farm, place it in a bourbon cask, wait 3 years and 1 day, and then we can officially call it Ballykeefe Irish whiskey.
That's a long wait. Are you a patient man?
I am. You have to be a patient man to be in the whiskey game.
Now, while you're waiting 3 years and 1 day for your whiskey crop, you have to make money out of it some way. So you're making other alcohol.
Yes, we make a gin, vodka, and we have a poutine on the market. We put on the poutine more or less as a novelty at the start, but it is one of our big sellers now.
How big a risk is this?
It is a big risk, but every cask we lay down now, the value is increasing. It's not like milking a cow, you have the milk there today, the milk must go at whatever price you're given, so you're a price taker. With the whiskey business, you're really a price maker. If you don't sell today, the whiskey gets more valuable next year. In 10 years' time, it's more valuable again. Your capital is growing every day with the business.
To make the spirits, Morgan adds his barley to warm water, slowly raising the temperature to extract the sugars.
So this is where the yeast is added?
This is where the yeast is added.
Right.
The yeast takes 72 hours to break down that sugar into an alcohol. So this is the first stage of alcohol we have in the distillery.
So once it leaves this big tank, it's alcohol?
Once it leaves that tank, it's alcohol.
It's not whiskey yet?
No, it's a beer.
To turn it from beer into spirit, the alcohol needs to be extracted from the liquid. This is the distilling process.
This is where we differ slightly from Scotland. They do double distillate, we do triple here in Ireland, increasing the alcohol content of the spirit.
So your alcohol is getting stronger and stronger as you move along?
Stronger and stronger each time. And then our spirit still is where the magic happens. That's where we separate the different alcohols. You have 3, in layman's terms, you have heads, hearts and tails. Heads are the poison, that must be extracted. The hearts are the good stuff, that's what we like to drink. And the tails come then in the last part of the distillation, and they're called low vines. They're what we know in the industry will give you the banging headache and the burn when you drink the spirit. So we try to have a very pure, clean spirit with our distillate.
You're only keeping the heart?
We only keep the hearts.
The alcohol is at a whopping 80% when it comes off the spirit still.
This is the spirit flowing from that still. This is known as a spirit safe. So many years ago, this would be locked and there'd be 2 locks on it. The distiller would have 1 key and the customs officer would have the other key. A customs officer would live on site.
Wow.
So this was the only access to the spirit.
Right.
Neither could open it without the other one being present.
Well, lucky us, there's no locks on it today.
Hey, no.
Do you test it in any way?
We do by taste and smell.
Right.
And we also rub a little bit on our hands like this. If you hold the glass. We let it evaporate off. And then we get the smell.
The spirit intended for whisky is blended with water from a well on the farm and put into oak casks, where it is left to mature for a minimum of 3 years. Nothing here is wasted. Heat, generated by the stills, is used to heat the whole premises, while the spent barley and the non-alcoholic residue from the beer, known as pot ale, is fed to the cattle.
I'm doing everything I can to have a close circle as possible, that everything we do is one with the land as such. So growing the barley, the straw goes into the animals, comes back out as fertiliser to grow next year's crop. The grain comes back out to feed the animals after being in the distillery. So we're trying to add value to as many things as we can.
This is very much a family business. When I visited, Morgan, his wife Anne and 2 of their children, Kevin and Aidan, were filling an order of a limited edition sloe gin for the Christmas market.
You sound an awful lot more like a whisky maker than a tillage farmer at the moment.
Oh, it's so exciting, the whisky business and the gin business, to see your product, that you've grown it in the field, to turn it into something that people will enjoy, and then to walk into a supermarket or a restaurant or a hotel and see your bottle on the back shelf and people enjoying what you've created. It's heartwarming, it's just brilliant.
All that was left for me to do was to sample some of Ballykeefe Distillery's gin in their very own bar.
And look at this, what a way to end your farming day, eh? You come into your own bar and pour yourself a gin and tonic.
And relax.
And relax, exactly. Well, cheers.
Thank you, Helen.